We're live, ladies. Welcome to HND Abroad. I'm Dee. I have my sisters with me today because I am not a writer. But if you know anything about me, I am a reader and I am a lover of Black women. I usually go live on Thursdays to talk about self-care. And I was like, who are the Black women in my circle that are expressing themselves through the written word that I have benefited from and that I think other folk need to get in touch with the work that they are doing? But most importantly, that we stand on the shoulders of centuries of Black women storytellers. We stand on the principles of Black women have something to say. We got something to say, and we're going to talk about why it's important that we not just feel things, which is highly important, but that we also take the opportunity to express it to others orally and in writing for nothing but the sake of posterity. Writing, I feel, allows there to be an impression that is left by you that will outlast you being that will outlast you being on this plane. I'll say it that way. Okay. So when you receive your elevation to ancestor, we will have your words of wisdom. We will have your words of survival and perseverance and resilience to build on. So without further ado, I want to say hello, Temple. Temple was in here way before we started. She is a regular. You know the drill on this channel. Please come in, give greetings. That's what sisters do. That's what we do culturally. Give your how-dos. But I want to say that the information for Danielle Brooks, Mocha Moizelle, and Sibongile are in the description. Not only where they are on social media, on the internet, but also their work so that you can hear more and dive deeper into the topics that they're going to highlight as a part of their written work today. So, and all of this is in support of the first annual Black Women's Writers Week.
Whoa.
So Black Women's Writers Week, we had a conversation on Tuesday. Go back and watch that one because we talked about the book club. But today, Danielle Brooks is going to introduce herself, then Mocha Moizelle and Sibongile to share who they are, where they are in the world. If you want to talk about what genre, you can add that as a hint, and then we'll get into the details.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dee. I am honored to be here sharing this time with you on your channel. My name is Danielle Brooks, and I am located in the Washington, D.C. metro currently. I do work as an HR professional, and I do a lot of writing in between times, at night, on the weekends. Primarily my genre, I would look at it as personal storytelling, somewhat of memoirs. I do some poetry. I do a lot of open mic nights in the area. And I would say writing has always been a part of my life. I've been an avid reader, but I've always been a journaler. And it's just been something that has helped me to work through things. I keep an inner monologue going on all the time. I'm very much an introvert. And so I have a lot going on in my brain, and I get it out on the page. whether that is handwriting or, on the computer these days.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Thank you.
Come on, Mocha Moizelle. Come on. Because you got to
Hey,
tell people where you are for real.
hi everyone. I'm Mocha Moizelle. I am currently based in Jamaica. So I have recently published a book that is titled Decolonizing the Divine, where is basically I am helping those understand the ascension process from a decolonial framework, if I want to call it out. I call it, it's like a little mini textbook, but it's not it's not too thick, but I'm trying to help my folks understand concepts in spirituality and a little bit of the science, the way our ancient ancestors knew and connected with spiritual wisdom and knowledge. So that is the genre of my book. And this experience and me even coming to Jamaica was a part of all that process and me being able to produce this book. So yeah, thanks. I hope I covered the important stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Come on, Sister
Okay,
Sibongile.
okay. I'm Sibongile B. N. Lynch. I am, my channel is We Don't Retire, We Ascend, and that's because last year, after working for 45 years of my life, I retired, and so glad I did. And in the last year, which has been my first year of retirement, I've been writing more. I've always written, but of course, I was always working. And so, Danielle, I could very much relate. Sometimes it's hard to write and work at the same time when you're working full time. But I'm finally at a place in my life where I can write and I can document my life as a Black woman aging in the 21st century. And I'm hoping to address that for all Black women who are 60 plus, who are at this time in their life when either you're retired, maybe you want to retire, maybe you're not ready to retire, but you're 60 and you're trying to express your value, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we get to be this age and we think we have nothing else to give, or nothing else to learn, or nothing else to receive, but we do. We have a whole lot of stuff. And I just want to read this quote from Tina McElroy Ansel, who we lost at the end of last year. She wrote the book Ugly Ways. You may be familiar with that. And to me, it expresses exactly the reason why I write. She says, I'm a part of a tradition of women who always knew they wanted to tell stories. It's how we pass on our lives, our legacies, our joys, and our struggles. Storytelling is our heartbeat. And for me, that nails it for me.
Mhm.
We
We going deep today, folks.
And thank you, Dee, for acknowledging this first Black Women Writers Week. I did not even know, but leave it to you to be up on it. You always up on it, doggone it, and so I appreciate you for calling us together for this.
What I was hoping Sibongile would also mention was the Great American Novel opportunity. So don't let me forget, because you know I will.
I've not
So-
heard of that, so yes, I will remind you.
Okay. So, all right. So I am having this conversation as someone that does not consider themselves a writer. I probably feel like I fit more in the storytelling genre, where I enjoy hearing, especially as I've gotten older, stories of growing up, of people that are more senior than myself. Um, but I feel like is it a certain kind of person that is a writer? I think it was Danielle that said she always knew that she enjoyed writing, like journaling. Those of us who are on the struggle bus, I buy those beautiful journals. And doing my decluttering, I have stacked them all up. I was like, I'm not gonna let them go because there are gonna be some words in here. But did each of you always consider yourselves a writer? And if you want to share maybe the milestones from personal writing to sharing, because who wants to jump in?
I'll go.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I've been writing since I was about 11 or 12. I was telling somebody the other day how mahogany made me want to be a writer. First, it made me want to be a fashion designer. Mahogany starring Diana Ross. But then I realized I was not going to be a fashion designer or a model, and it was easier for me to write. But I started out wanting to write the words that they say in the movies, and over time, it developed into wanting to be a novelist. I've kept journals, but I've actually had to throw away some journals because I got too real in some things, and I just could not take the chance that somebody else might read it. Oh, I've thrown away a couple of journals, so I'm real careful about writing things down that are too personal, which is funny because I recently submitted for publication. Not for publication, but hopefully for consideration for publication, a memoir that I wrote over the course of the pandemic. And I've never wanted to write about myself. I've always considered myself a fiction writer. To answer your question, I don't know if there is a certain kind of person that becomes a writer. I somehow I don't think so. But for myself, I've been writing for a long time. And like I said, I'm finally at a point in my life where I can focus almost solely on that. So I am still writing fiction, but through the pandemic, I actually ended up getting out some nonfiction or memoir stuff. And hopefully I didn't go too deep, but it doesn't matter now because I've already submitted it. So
girl, just press in. Just press in. That's
I don't have a choice now.
important. Okay. Let's see, Danielle, I know you were ready to jump in.
Yeah, I think for me, it was hard for me to say like I'm a writer, but I've always loved writing. I love words. I see in metaphors. I remember, I think probably around the age of 10, the first time I learned about haiku and the mental part of like fitting it into that structure and finding just the right words. I love alliteration, I was sharing with Mocha Moizelle before we got on. I'm just getting back to like feeling like I'm on East Coast time from being in Vietnam with the Exodus Summit Sisters. And literally as I was leaving, if you ever been in an area like that, lots of horns beeping and the traffic is crazy. And I thought as I was on the plane, I started just writing in my mind, and I thought about the song Bad Girls, toot toot, hey, beep beep, because we were just out there like the bad girls taking over Hoi An.
We need a theme song.
And then I was like, bad, bold and daring, and I started writing out like a little poem. I need to go back and finish, but my mind thinks like that. It could be a song, a scent, a something. I'm constantly having words that come to mind. Very easy for me to do writing. And so recently I've been a part of publications, submitted into anthologies and things like that. And so I'm working on a book proposal now, finally a full book, but very excited to be entering this phase of being able to actually say, yes, I am a writer.
If you write, I'm going to go ahead and out some people. If you write, you're a writer. Mm-hmm. I said what I said. Okay. Now, I'm going to twist this question just a little bit because Mocha Moizelle She didn't identify herself as an introvert, but y'all, introverts got something to say.
Yeah, because we be in our head all the time. So,
Yeah.
Tell the truth now.
yeah, yeah. So I wouldn't identify myself as a writer, but I know I be in my head. And so when I was in school, I used to be known to write. I had an aunt that had me publish a book of poetry in which I was 16. I didn't identify myself as a writer. I was just putting stuff down, and then she helped me compile it to a book. But like even when we were doing like little assessment tests, I would always be the one to finish last because I was just write, and the teacher was like, "Just go ahead and wrap it." I would just be writing, but I never considered myself a writer. Like after my school age, I used to love to read books and I used to write, but after that, it kind of just, whatever. Until recently, as I had some experiences and things that led me to some understandings, and I was kind of again urged to put it into a book so it will be easier for people to understand and access the information. So that's how I've circled back around for it in that regard. But in the meantime, in between time, like most people, my writing didn't extend beyond my own little personal notes and journals and things like that. So probably now moving forward, I might produce some more works. But for me, it was a sense of this is important information people need to have. Let me put it in a way that's tangible and they can, access it at their own time and pace.
Mm-hmm.
May I ask Mocha a question,
oh, go
Dee?
ahead. Go ahead.
You made me think about, do you ever have moments or when you first started publishing things where, for me, that introversion would kind of merge together. And once I would get something out there, when I started getting feedback, I wanted to go hide. I didn't know, I didn't want to engage with people. It's that constant thing where you feel like it's not good enough, but you have this calling to get it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have feelings like that as well?
For me, absolutely. Even when I know it's some groundbreaking stuff, but even when I was like, even recently, I was like, people gonna understand what I'm trying to say. Like, did I do a thorough enough job? But I'm like, girl, like it's
I
gonna
said
serve the
what I
purpose that
said.
it needs to serve. Like basically, and whoever is gonna resonate with is gonna get it, and who don't, they're probably not gonna gravitate towards the book anyway, especially with it being a subject matter that it is. So I just have to get myself back in my ego a little bit. Like, yeah, you did it, and it's they gonna like it. So that's kind of just where I am at now, and yeah, it was um just me again because I'm in my head, and it's again when you start putting things on paper, it's like going back and reading stuff. I'm always like, is this going to be communicated in a way that the average person would be able to understand? Not that I think that I'm smarter than people, but if whoever is reading it, would they be able to at least get some basic assessment and understanding of what it is that I'm trying to communicate? So for me, so in the book that I published recently, my extra version that I did share is kind of like a brief part of the book. It's like an introduction that I'm explaining to people to how I got to the position to write the book. But the rest of it is here's some information. And again, probably I might get into publishing more of my personal story. But I think it's just like a mental hurdle and a mental block, and I forgot what they call it. What is it? Imposter syndrome or something, where you just start telling yourself like, but it's whatever. Like if you don't put it out there, even if you do have like things that could be changed, if you don't put it out, how you going to know that there are things that can be improved upon and worked upon and tweaked? So you just still, either way it goes, you're hindering and blocking yourself. Either it's going to be received really greatly, or you're going to get feedback to help you develop your talent a little bit more. So that's what it is. I put a lot of time and effort into it. It's getting put out there. So do with that as you will. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you addressed it. Do you feel like writing personal is a contradiction or a conflict?
I don't think
As from an introvert's perspective, because we talk, but it's just like there's some things I'm going to say to myself for myself, and then what I say to others. Do you find that you're in a battle with yourself? When is it too much?
Yeah, I had that battle. I wouldn't call it a battle. It was more so, is this relevant for what I'm trying to communicate? Because if I share all this stuff, right, is it going to be relative to what it is that I'm trying to do? Not necessarily that I was scared about sharing it, because like we all have like a lot of stuff that we could share. But if I put it in this particular format with this particular subject matter, um, would it be basically overpowering the nature like of the book anyway? At some point, like if I do decide to open myself up a little bit more, I probably will take more of that personal route. But I don't think it's a contradiction. Um, I don't think I'm gonna be bombarded with people who are like, I don't know. Like I still hope to attain some of my introversion. And I have to like, be out there and expounding all this energy all the time. But I think it was enough for me to get the point across and still be relevant and still keep some of my personal likings to myself.
Well, okay, so Sibongile, you done told me some stuff, so I'm just gonna out you in public. Okay, so Sibongile was teaching some English. She had some videos out there, and she was like, I put it out there and then I took it down. Like, where is the struggle for writers? Because what I believe happens is writing is a healing process. Writing is one expression, just like therapy, just like, confronting your oppressor or whatever. It's a way to see yourself on paper, even getting to the point where you're able to do that. Where do you feel like there is a tug? Where was that happening? And I'm talking about from a content creator, not just as a written word writer. Because what I'm noticing is that you guys are multi-layered in your sharing.
So are you asking me?
Uh-huh. Because she was like, oh, and I was getting hundreds of views and I just took it down. And I was like, you what?
Well, that was because what I was posting at the time, which was a whole different type of YouTube channel, was for students. I was teaching here in the Atlanta area, and I was teaching online. And so I used videos in order to, try to pull my students in and get their attention. And it turns out I had done just a couple of videos on how to write essays. So they were very first year college English class type of content. And after I stopped teaching the class, I'd forgotten that the videos were posted. And when I went back, I found that I had like over a couple of hundred subscribers, and I was shocked because I was like, I didn't think nobody was even paying attention to them, really. Right. And then of course I was getting some crazy comments and stuff, and because I wasn't very skilled with YouTube at the time, I didn't take them down, but I did make them private, right? because I don't really focus or function on that channel anymore. But when I came back with "We Don't Retire, We Ascend," in a way, it was difficult. It still is. I still struggle with being on camera and trying to talk to the fourth wall, as it were, the third wall, whatever they call it. But because I was told by editors and publishers that creating a platform for yourself was essential to possibly getting published, right, in a traditional way. That kind of forced me to put myself out there, right? Even though I wasn't sure that I had a platform, right? It's like, okay, I'm just a Black woman agent in the 21st century. That's, who cares about that? Well, of course, through therapy, I was encouraged to write all of that stuff down, especially when I started writing my memoir, and to start talking about that, because I'm not the only Black woman agent in the 21st century. There's a lot of us out here, right? And I think we really do have something to contribute to the conversation about the things that are going on in the world. We've seen it all. In my last video, I talked about our superpowers, one of which is that we've seen it all, we've done it, we've had some experiences. We have things to talk about. We have things that we are experiencing in terms of healthcare, right? In terms of whether we continue to work or not work. Now we have to worry about whether I just start getting Social Security. Now I got to worry about if I'm gonna keep getting Social Security. All of these kind of things. Dating, if you are dating. I'm not dating, but I'm still dating my husband. But other than that, I mean, we still have relationship issues. We still have issues with our children. We have a lot of issues that not only do we have those issues still, but we've had some experience with those things, and we can tell somebody else some stuff, right? And so I'm finding that as we even though we have these issues, a lot of us are still not comfortable with technology. But as we become comfortable with technology, I'm getting a lot of subscribers and a lot of people saying, "Hey, I'm glad you're talking about this one thing," or whatever. So it's helping to pull me out. I don't consider myself introvert, maybe more ambivert, as they say. I'm introvert until I ain't, and vice versa. So yeah, I hope I answered your question. So
Yeah. It looked like Danielle and Mocha Moizelle were nodding when I was talking about writing is a part of healing. Danielle, your blog post that I was like, girl, I was just like, ooh. I mean, like, as they say, I was shooketh. I feel for me reading some of the things that I'm reading through blogs and other written formats, it's literally making me say, you mean I'm not the only one? What aspect of healing can you verbalize from your experience as a writer / storyteller?
Yeah, for me, definitely healing, acceptance of myself. I talk about, just pulling all the pieces of myself together, taking that time to really think and write about from childhood and pulling the thread through my life about decisions I made and why, and not compartmentalizing, but putting it all together was a healing for me through writing, to go through every step of it, face myself, and just reconcile all the pieces of my life, my crazy, chaotic childhood, and not from a place of victim or blaming my parents, but just facing the reality of my life and how it drove some of my decisions, whether that was career-wise or the marriage I ended up in, and then that marriage that almost broke me down. And getting the courage, again, finding myself, finding my voice to have the courage to walk away. And so when you talked about the writing and seeing yourself, that was part of the reason why I started being more public, not from a standpoint of, salaciousness or I'm gonna tell my side and that man is crazy. But I was coming across so many women that were privately either messaging me or people, in the community where we had been very out loud about our little family and our little, two children in the suburbs and our little house. And I think sometimes it can be very helpful when people are just as loud, when they're healthy enough and helpful to others about what that process is like when the dream crumbles and you have to kind of pick up the pieces of your life. Because, for some of the background, I was in a church setting, pretty high profile, married to a pastor, some different things. And kind of sometimes you see those things are like, yay, they're good. And then it just goes dark. And maybe, some years later, it's like they're on the other side. And I just thought it was important to share a little bit of that messy middle and to continue to really be encouraging, but be real about the process. And it has been rewarding because I do have so many people that are like, I'm not the only one, or, I thought I was crazy, or can you just share a little bit more? So that was part of the reason for me being a little public, even doing the YouTube channel. Again, I don't have the time capacity to do a lot of one-on-ones with women, which was happening. I did what I call like some divorce coaching or maybe even pre-divorce, just for people to kind of get a different perspective from therapy aspect or like a pastoral counseling aspect, but just to talk woman to woman. And I've been also very fortunate to have a couple of therapists in my life that have, referred clients to me for the things that they can't say in their capacity as a therapist, but just, hey, I think my client needs to talk to somebody peer to peer that has walked that path. Yeah.
Mocha Moizelle, how is writing been? Do you see writing as a part of a healing, blooming journey yourself?
Absolutely. I would take it as in one form, maybe it's like an energetic transfer, right? So maybe you have some energies and things you're dealing with on the inside, and when people find some way to exercise those things, be it writing or whatever type of form of expression, um, you feel some form of release, maybe, and then you also have this beautiful art that you created, or verbiage, or however you want to put it. So it's therapeutic in that sense, maybe unknowingly for a lot of people, that you are again taking these things that may have occupied, you may not be aware that's what's happening, but you're taking these things that are occupying your brain space and your mind, and you're finding an outlet to release it, and then you can go on about your business, like, if that's your choice, but you freed up something within you now where you can go focus and fixate on other things, be it another piece of work, or something else that will naturally flow to you if you think about it from that perspective. So absolutely, from an energetic standpoint, I think it's absolutely healing and can be therapeutic. And, we are here, more people are finding their creativity again, because it, for a lot of people, it serves not to replace therapy, but it serves some means of a outlet to release, right? And those are other forms of getting that healing that you need, that you may have not necessarily understood that it could have been that simple as you just writing stuff down and putting it on paper and getting it out of your mind frame and putting it somewhere where it's tangible. You can see it, you can touch the thoughts and things that you had in your mind and be like, oh, like that, this is it right here, that's it. Now you can look at it as opposed to it being inside of you. So I would absolutely say that that could be, and even when I was younger, now that I'm looking back, like me writing that poetry was me dealing with some feelings and emotions that I had at the time, but nobody, was, able to understand what I was dealing with. But maybe that pen and paper was a holding spot for me to transfer that, what I was dealing with, into another form of mediumship or whatever, and that freed me up to focus on other things. So
I, I see you, Dr. T. Maya Spikes writes is in the comments, y'all. BP, thank you. Tiffany Travels, thank you guys so much for joining, because nurturing the writer within, I believe that Black women's literature is becoming more and more important. When our voices are actively being silenced through banned books, through and other means, like academically, curricula are excluding our voices, our stories. I see that we need to flood the market with with our words in places that have not necessarily been welcoming, have not necessarily been a champion of the stories that we want to tell, that are almost, I want to say, beyond the I struggled and I overcame. I mean, that I think is when people look at Black women, it's always a come up. But that is not the only thing that I see you all are saying. I see joy in what you all are writing, that I am reading. I see a depth of a challenge to me to see the complexity of life and tease it apart, like what Danielle was saying. Where's that thread? Sometimes you can trace things back to childhood. Sometimes you're just like, I don't know where that came from, but I can now see a pattern. Kind of is it you or is it me? Right. I'm going to say this quote, and if you are over age 45, you know exactly where I am quoting this from. I am a voice in this world, and I deserve to be heard. Mm-hmm. I am a voice in this world, and I deserve to be heard. Now, a different world was the Black college experience that I didn't know I needed, but it was exactly what, I guess, showed me I had fertile soil and nourished it. What was that catalyst for you that helped you to come out of your head? Was it, a writing group? Was it, a class, a teacher? How were you nurtured? Who nurtured the writing within you?
For me, it was definitely my aunt. Now, she was a person I had never met. She just happened to end up moving back to where I'm from, and she was, I guess, maybe had published some books before, was doing something published wise, and she started hosting these writing workshops, I guess, for other. I live in a mostly Black town, so I don't know if it was excluded, but it was mostly us, and it was for students, like, just to kind of like write and vocalize themselves and put out what they're feeling on paper or with art and stuff like that. It basically was like a young writers club. Oh, nice. And like, again, I had never thought of myself to be a writer, but we were just doing it. We were putting this work out there, and for some reason I was the only one who published a book. I don't know what happened, other people, may be like a fear thing, like maybe their parents didn't want them publishing things, or they thought it was something to it, but she basically let me know that it was something tangible that could be done and put together and packaged for other people to receive, and how it could be distributed. I had never thought, of course, like I was like a teen, I was in high school, so I was like, I don't know, okay, lady, like I'll put, if you say so, let me put the stuff out there. But she showed me how it could be basically modeled and done, and she helped me kind of nurture that understanding of it and put things out there for it to be assessed by the public. So yeah.
Cool. Sibongile?
Um, well, actually, I don't feel like I ever got a whole lot of nurturing in terms of my writing. I grew up in North St. Louis, and at the time that I was talking about being a writer as a young Black girl in the 70s and early 80s, that was not something that people did where I came from, right? Um, I talk a little bit about this in the memoir. I got a little bit of encouragement when I was in high school in the way of awards for writing essays and things like that. Um, but I don't really feel like I had that encouragement as a young girl to write. I came from a working class neighborhood and was not a whole lot of college graduates, was not anyone that I knew that went to a HBCU. Nobody's mom and daddy went to college. Everybody's mom and daddy worked at the post office. They worked at the, Chevy plant, the Ford plant. And if you lucky, you can get a job at the Ford plant too, right? So wasn't nobody talking about being a writer. You have to come up with something else. At the very least, go to school and become a teacher, right? But I didn't really get a lot of encouragement, but still over the years, I still wanted to be a writer. I knew that was the only thing that I wanted to do. I never wanted a job. I didn't want to work for the government for 20 years and get a pension. I wanted to write. But of course, you can't make a living as a writer, right? And so that was part of the reason that I was never consistent with it, I think, part of the reason. And so only until during the pandemic, again, when I got in therapy, my therapist encouraged my writing. She helped me to believe that what I had to say was important, right? Which I always knew. But for me, more than a healing, or as much as a healing, for me, writing is also, I see it as this opportunity to express and get out this creative energy that's always been there that I never had the opportunity to express. Or at least I didn't think I did, right? Because I didn't think anybody wanted to hear it. And so it's a healing, but it's also, like I said, an opportunity for me to be who I am, to express who I am in writing and through writing. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Because I think what you all are presenting, Danielle, if you wanted to chime in as well, that sometimes somebody's going to fertilize it, sometimes not. It doesn't mean that one way or the other that that what you have to say is not valuable, that there isn't an audience for your work.
And sometimes too, life just be life. And part of the reason why I wasn't getting the encouragement or looking for the encouragement is because I lost both my parents when I was still in high school. So from an early age, I had to focus on being an adult and taking care of myself, and so, writing was just not going to do it. And then I came from a place where, like I said, writers were not prevalent. People didn't write. There was not a whole lot of arts going on where I was coming from. So that was part of the reason too why I didn't get that push early on, but I have it now. So
she gonna say what she gonna say, Danielle.
it. Yeah, I think similarly. I mean, I've always been encouraged in my writing through teachers, very similar, won awards for essays. And I think I've been fortunate to, even though I had to work and do different things, life be life in, but I've always had some component of whatever work I've done where I've been able to write, whether that was putting out a monthly newsletter or I've been a speechwriter when I was in the military. You know, I was a speechwriter. I've done, um, narrated programs and been overseeing things that kept those creative juices going. So it's something that has never left me, even though, if I had my way, I would have just gone to college and gone in my mind. I wanted to go live in a brownstone in New York and just observe the city and write fiction novels. I don't know how I was going to eat. Like you said, writers don't make money. You don't see that, but that's the dream I have. So that still has never left me. When I do, join the ranks of the non full-time workers, I do plan to take some time and focus on just writing. But like I said, I've been very fortunate to always have had something where I've been able to get that creativity out and write, whether it was at work or even in, volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, the quote that I started this part of the conversation with was said on A Different World. Whoopi Goldberg was the I guess it was a writing class, and Tisha Campbell shared that she had HIV in that particular episode, and what Whoopi Goldberg asked was that they write their obituary. And I was like, yo, like a teacher, that's a good teacher, like to challenge you to look at an aspect of your life and say what you would want others to know about you. And so it would be good to have a little practice. Now, when Black women are faced with, I want to write and I want to be published. Back in the day, so I watched, I'm trying to remember which of the streaming channels has Toni Morrison's story. And she was just like, those publishing houses are brutal. They are getting all kinds of submissions, even when they're doing requests. How do you break through? What I love is the path of self-publishing, blogs, and other forms. So can you all talk about choosing the way that you wanted your work to be represented? So, Mocha Moizelle has talked about publishing her book of poems. Was that, did somebody, go to a printer and have it bound and then you got multiple copies? Like where did you all start and how did you choose the medium in which you would share?
That's a good, my first book. I actually don't know how it went about getting printed. My aunt just showed up with copies. I never thought to ask that question like back then. I don't know how she did it or where it came from.
Look,
But
hire her to be your manager, your agent.
like, I don't know how she did that, honestly. But with this recent book, I definitely went to self-publish, right? I don't know anything about, working with traditional publishers or like trying to, I don't know anything about their process. I just knew I wanted to get this book out as soon as possible. I didn't want anything holding up that process because I would rather just go and try and publicize it or whatever. And I don't know if something would happen, if it get picked up. I don't know how it works, but if anything it happens in a trajectory with that, then fine. But I wasn't waiting on that to happen. Um, but that's a good question. I need to ask her, like, how did you get those books? I'm pretty sure it was some type of self-publishing, but she did have them in bulk. So I don't know how that worked. I don't know. I wasn't published through a traditional publisher, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she had somewhere to go where she can get books printed.
Mhm.
Don't-
That's got to be powerful to be a teenager and see your name on a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
How did you choose, Danielle? Uh-oh.
She froze.
Can you guys hear me?
Wow.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I think similarly, when I look in, I've looked into traditional publishing, and it just seems like I don't have the energy to kind of get through all the hoops about how you have to have already this online platform and XYZ number of subscribers and followers. And like I said, right now, I'm just still living life, and I might have a post about my child doing something and a post about a book the next day. So I'm not in this, I think, marketable space. I just wanted to get my message out. And I think for me, procrastination is a bigger issue for me than I don't typically get like blocks, but for me, it's the procrastination or the overthinking. So I just got to hit submit. I can't add all these extra layers and barriers to what I'm trying to do, or I will just be here like a dream deferred, just heart sick, not able to do the thing that I really feel pulled from within me to get out. And if it happens at some point, fine. I was in a couple of like mastermind groups, and also I just don't fit in the mold, even outside of the social media platforms. I hadn't found a place where I fit. And again, part of my backstory and all the things I've been through, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not trying to fit in anybody's box. I did that. I'm just who I am. I have discovered and accepted and fully, as you said, bloomed into myself. So I'm just not doing that for anybody, any organization. There's no prize worth me trying to make myself be something that I'm not.
Know thyself. That's what it sounds like. Know yourself, know your temperament. Don't, if you consider it a barrier, it's a barrier, and you are the best at identifying your way around it.
Yeah, for me, I'm not doing publishing, I think it's great, but for me, it would be a barrier. Yeah, for where I am right now in life.
Sibangile's journey, and I'm going to let you speak for yourself, but she's actually on both sides, if my understanding from our previous conversations is correct, is she has been on the review side as well as the submission side when it comes to publishing. Did I get that? Did I understand that?
I'm not sure what you mean by review, the review side.
Okay. Shucks.
Do you mean as an editor?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've not actually been the person to decide whether or not someone gets published, if that's what you mean.
No, it sounded like you were like in a cohort of people that were
I
part
am
of reviewing.
Yeah, I've done like fiction editing for literary journals. So in that respect, but I mean, my word is not the final word, not as a editor-in-chief, just as
Right.
kind of a line editor or maybe a developmental editor.
Okay.
But I have to say kudos. I'm in awe of my younger sisters here because they just say, look, I want to write a book. You ain't gonna publish it. I'm gonna publish it. I publish it myself. I love it. I love that spirit. And I'll tell you a little story. The first thing that I actually did publish, y'all might be too young to remember this, but when I was in elementary school, I was probably in maybe 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. and I wrote a collection of poetry, right? And I don't consider myself a poet at all, but at that time I'd written some poetry. And I had no clue about publishing or anything. Like I said, I was still in elementary school, but there used to be a machine that they call, I want to say a mimeograph, carbon copy. And you have to get all of those little inky pieces of paper together and type it on the typewriter, and then put it through the machine with the ink, and your fingers all purple because you got all the ink. Somehow I convinced somebody in the principal's office at my elementary school to allow me to use that and give me the carbon copy paper in order to type up my poetry on this little Smith Corona that I had. And I ran out maybe about 20 copies. I wish I'd kept one. We're talking like 100 years ago. But I mean, I guess I was self-publishing back then, right? Fast forward, of course, at that time, self-publishing was not a thing. YouTube was not a thing.
Right.
Microsoft Word was not a thing. Okay. Yes. I don't even think floppy disks were a thing yet. Now I'm telling my age. But I came up as wanting to be a writer at a time when the only opportunities to write was either being traditionally published through a publishing house or publishing through a magazine or being a journalist, right? And so many years later, after I finally got a computer and was going to school, I never even imagine writing on a computer. I was so opposed to it, but I'm glad that once I went back to school, I opened myself up to doing it. But I'm still a little old school in that I still really want to be published traditionally, right? That's just a dream of mine. Now, if it don't happen soon enough, I'm just have to do like everybody else. And to show that I am willing to do that, I did publish a small book not too long ago. Somebody said it's the little book with the big title called Now About That Budget. I think you put it in the—
There's a link in the description.
Yeah, Now About That Budget. Because I took a print publishing class just in case I end up publishing my own stuff.
All right.
And I published that book as an opportunity to get some experience, quite frankly. So I'm not opposed to self-publishing, but I still want to do it the traditional route. I am also looking at some university presses as well. And yeah, you got to jump through some hoops because the bottom line is publishing is very competitive. Everybody and their mama trying to write a book, everybody and their mama trying to publish a book. And publishers get so many submissions, right? So them choosing yours is slim to none, but I'm keeping the faith. I still have hope.
Well, one of the things that I've come across trying to figure out recently, like I did self-publish the book, but how do I get it in those traditional environments like bookstores or libraries?
Sell the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Sell it, market it yourself, and sell so many copies they can't ignore you.
Yeah, so I was like, that part of it I haven't figured out yet, but that was something to think about. Like, and I didn't think about it till afterwards. Like, how am I get this into like?
That's what made self-publishing, I think, become so popular, particularly in the early 90s. Is when, I don't know if y'all remember the novel Invisible Life by Elin Harris. He wrote that book and basically sold it out of his trunk, and he was selling so many copies. They was like, we want that book too. So, and I want to say maybe even Terry McMillan, I don't know if her first book was self-published or not. Maybe not. But when he sold his book and it sold so many copies and people wanted it and were interested in it, and the publishing houses start seeing that, that's what got people thinking, maybe I can self-publish my book and somebody will pick it up.
Yeah, I feel like if you're the writer that wants others to see, to share, that you want to share your experience with others, I'm really glad that there are multiple paths. I mentioned, let's see, so both Sibongile and Danielle's Substack. Substack.com is a blog. I wasn't sure if blogs would survive, but baby, y'all out here thriving and I'm reading them.
Well, for me, the bottom line was just write and get it out there. And my the website or the blog and the newsletter are ways to do that. So
self-publishing, which Mocha Moizelle, will you share which venue, what was your path to self-publishing your decolonizing
I chose the Lulu
text?
platform,
Okay.
and they have other platforms out there. I think Ingram Spark has like a similar platform, like an online platform. They have a bunch of, they have Amazon, but I don't know if I want to fool Amazon, so I was like, I don't want to go that route. But I went with those, options where they could be printed on demand, basically, because I didn't want to be dealing with bulk and stuff like that, especially when I'm just new to this, and it's like I really don't know nothing about selling books like that. But that's the route that I went, and then you can set it up as an ebook as well. So that's the platform that I use, and it's free to set up. I got a free ISBN with it. Yeah, I don't know what that may mean with a free ISBN. I don't know, but I was like, this is what I got. I'm not, this is here for me to use. I'm gonna use it. But like I said, I know they have like Ingram Spark, I think is the Ingram publisher. There's just their online version of it, and they distribute to like those like Barnes and Nobles and things like that. But it's still, and just looking at the distribution costs of things like that, they really take like just a lot of money out of like the book. So I was like, I don't even know if I want to deal with that type of distribution model. I think I would kind of just rather, at least until I get comfortable enough to start hustling the books outside of my trunk or something like that. I would rather just them be, available where they can be print on demand. And when I do decide to start doing something in bulk, then I can go and it's also, a good way. So while, I have the book up and it's in a more digital format, I can go and like make, if I see something I want to change, I can go make that change, upload it, and that be the case. And I can kind of just keep doing it until I'm like, okay, now I would like to get this book fully published or in bulk published, and it's more perfected, as I go back and keep looking over and reading at it and reading, I can go make those adjustments to where I was like, now I can I think I could go try and take this to wherever I decide to take it to, and pay and be comfortable paying that large bulk order amount or whatever. So that's what I like about it. Like if I see something, I misspelled a word, I didn't know that, like, oh, let me just change it and then re-upload it, and that's it. And I just expect that to be the process for maybe like a little while longer. If I get feedback from somebody who, people who bought it already, like, this could have been explained a little bit better or something like that. I had the time and space to like kind of let that cultivate until I feel like it's quote unquote perfect, and then move it forward in a more larger scale. So that I appreciate.
Absolutely. I'm going to put Carol's question up since we're talking about
that's my good
the
friend.
business of publishing.
Hey, Dr. Marsh Lockett, that's my good friend.
So I don't know what a literary agent is. If y'all can define that for me, and then tell me what the value, is there value? Who is the best person that would benefit from a literary agent?
The literary agent.
Ah!
Because an agent, just like an agent for when you are
Acting,
an actor or something like that,
yeah.
An agent gets a cut basically. I think it's about 10, up to 10, maybe 15% now. I would find value in that. I would most certainly accept a literary agent, but they are almost as discriminating as the publishers are. The agent essentially acts as a middleman to get you to the publisher. But I would most certainly welcome that. If it got me to a publishing house, like as in the way that I want to be, I would accept it. I would accept an agent. I would love to have an agent. If y'all know anybody, if there are any agents out there,
Come on now. Come on, you have not.
I'll pay the
You
10 or
have not
15% on that
because you
first book.
asked not. But what I'm recognizing is there are places, and I see Prophet Mother here. We've talked about book clubs. We've talked about places where Black books and books by Black women authors are valued. Um, and and these are spaces where we are specifically looking for many of the things that you all are writing about. And so yeah, see if you can get on the radar of some book clubs that want that that are looking for the kind of book that you're wanting to do. So Monday I interviewed Kyoka, Awkward Black Nomad, and Yvonne McBride, Lit Life, about our. They're not officially connected, but many of the Exodus Summit sisters are in a book club, Read and Wander. And so we read fiction, and we're always in the group suggesting Black women fiction authors, since that is the focus, or where Black women are the main character. So we usually it is Black women authors and Black women are the main characters. Usually that is parallel. um, I am I'm encouraged by what you guys shared today. How can you create some fertile ground today for Black women that are considering, and that don't even recognize your social media post are a part of could be a part of somebody's healing journey. Your blog, your presentation, if you have the opportunity to say yes to being on somebody's YouTube channel, is your story matters. Can you guys say some words of encouragement um, for folks that may be, let's see who was saying it above, imposter syndrome, um, analysis paralysis, those that might be in this loop of I want to share, is that too personal, is anybody going to be interested in my corner of the world? Can you seed into someone, nurture someone's writing itch today?
I think, well, if Black people and Black women were to understand that we come from like some oral traditions and strong like storytelling, like heritages and things like that, and that is historical, is cultural, it's a lot of things that we could be sharing. And then I think about that comparison, like how you got that mediocre white man that just be putting his stuff out, and we probably all come across those books and like, what is this is a hot mess, but they eating it up, right? And so I just think about all the mediocre stuff that you consume or that you watch and that you read, and how it's just getting ate up. Everybody love it, and that's just because they had the gall to put it out. Um, and a lot of it is just fear, and it's projections that we've internalized throughout our days that prevent us from putting these things out because we scared of what somebody's going to say. But I can probably guarantee you somebody else has probably had that experience or would have liked to have been able to connect with somebody who had that experience. Yeah, like Brad and Chad, like, just it's the same thing in a workplace, right? They just have uh that boastiness, or like that, whatever
The
that word is.
audacity.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
audacity.
Hmm.
And it's like you have the same audacity, and just do whatever the it'll probably be a lot more interesting, be a lot more receptive, it'll probably be a lot more relatable. You got all these things working for you in your favor. as opposed to you being scared or thinking like somebody's going to have like some feedback. And so what if they do? That's just a part of the process. You learn how to stay in your audacity and just keep putting it out. But we come from that history of oral traditions. Before people, we was writing down stuff, we were saying it, and we were sharing stories, and we were communicating. Like, that's a part of our lineage that you have to share. You are withholding it from the world. Like, how dare you do that? That's just selfish. I'm just joking. Being inconsiderate. But of course you do those things in your own time. But oh, did she leave us? But you just want to just think about what you are restraining from the world. And I think about that a lot with Black people, and like how we, was trained to just suffer and labor and work. How much of our artistic talents got thrown to the wayside, or were never like put out into the world because of our conditioning, basically. So
So
I
yeah,
received that for myself.
it's different.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I agree, especially with the relatability piece, because I think, many of us come up in the era of trying to fit in and assimilate and who we had to become to be successful. And it's a time for us to reclaim the rhythm of the Black voice, the tenor and tone, like you said, that storytelling that is in our oral tradition, to get back to those roots. And the shift that's happening even now in the world, I think, is prime opportunity for us to get our voices out and to call each other home and call each other to ourselves, to our true selves. Dee asked a question earlier about writing. I think everybody has at least one story in them. I think every person story in them, and whether it's for our own family, the generations coming behind us, or the person that is just trying to find a picture of themselves to fit and belong, our stories matter. Even with all of the competition, even in traditional publishing, we're still the smallest number of books are published by Black authors. So I think there is just a wide open berth for us to self-publish, knock down those doors of traditional publishing. I'm not totally against, like, if they come after me, I'm not going to turn it down. But, I think it's a wide open road for us to publish and get our stories out there in our voices, to connect with our people and to connect with the truth of who we are. Again, moving into the space and time that we're in is critical to reclaim who we are as a people through our oral tradition and our written words.
And I'll just piggyback on what you all are saying, but I'll add to it. Someone once told me, even if we all wrote the same exact story, it's going to be different because it's going to be coming from all of our different perspectives. Because my thought was always, well, that story's been told before, or something like that has been told before. So-and-so's story sounds like this. It's not going to be the same because our perspectives are completely different and our experiences are completely different. So even if we told the exact same story, it will still be different. And so my encouragement and my recommendation to anyone who wants to write is to do just that. Get it on paper, right? It's so many things to keep us from doing the thing that we say we want to do. And that's what I have to keep telling myself every day. You say you want to write, get out some paper. It doesn't have to be perfect, the first draft, the second draft, the 21st draft, how many other drafts. Just get it out and do it, and trust and believe in your gift. Trust and believe in your gift. So
that is so true. I have two younger sisters, and we often talk about, we tell stories, and just from our different perspectives because of age gaps and, my perspective, we live through the same household, but we have a different perspective. And it's the beauty of the whole story coming together that has the richness in it. So, I mean, just agreeing with what you said about, it could be the same story from the same household, and it's going to be rich with, gems and wisdom and perspective that can help others.
Absolutely.
I love this question. I have some comments myself, but I'd love for you all to talk about writing routines. So this is getting down to business. And this is, for me, this is everything from journaling um, straight through, publishing something um, uh, that, whether it's a book, a blog post, a newsletter, y'all, the writing struggle is real. So, how can we be, quote unquote, or train ourselves or get in a writing rhythm?
For me, I just kind of started. I didn't know where I was gonna start. Actually, I just know the stuff was in my head, and I didn't know, like, I never put this type of book out before. So I just kind of started like where I wanted to start and where I wanted to end, and then I would kind of like just work on my little outline till I felt like it was a full scope picture of what it was that I was trying to communicate. And then I would kind of just start there and just do some research and making sure that I'm covering all the points so I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And that's kind of where I started. Like, I just started there. And because I'm always in my head, I know that I'm thinking things, but I may not communicate it as thoroughly because I be in my head and I don't know. And then somebody will ask me a question in my head, I'll be like, oh, that's obvious. But then I have to be, no, it wasn't obvious because it's somebody else outside of you. But I
There's no
just,
gaps in here.
and I would just do it until when I was starting to put the book together, I would just write until I felt like writing. And if I didn't feel like writing no more, I would just stop. I didn't, make it like a forced thing. If I felt like working on it, then I would. If I didn't, I would go take a break and go mind my business somewhere. And that's it. I didn't make it into like a forceful production. That's me, but I don't know if that's like what traditional writers would do. But that's what I did. Yeah.
How do you make space? How have you made space, Sibongile?
Well, anybody that knows me know that I am not an early morning person. I wish I could be that writer that got up at the crack of dawn, before the crack of dawn, with a cup of coffee and write for 4 or 5 hours and then go about my day and then turn around and do it the next morning. I'm not getting up there early to write. If I happen to be up, I may write, but I'm not waking up that early to do it. Usually my writing happens in the evening. And I don't do it every day. I should, but I don't. Because I've been retired and exploring my life in this first year of retirement. I've been doing so many things. Not that writing takes a back seat, but I just don't have a routine. I do, when I'm writing fiction, I do like to do character sketches to kind of fully flesh out characters. And I'll do a full character, not only a full character sketch, but I will talk about that character's family, where they come from. I'll do character sketches to really talk about my fully flesh them out. But in terms of a time of day or certain days of the week, when I hear it, I just write when I hear it. So.
Yeah, I'm a morning person, but I'm not like I've got to get 1,000 words out in the morning.
Okay.
But the morning is my prime time of day for writing, and I do a variety of things. I'm a part of an online writing community, and then I also have a local writing community that meets in person. And so I like to mix it up if I'm not working on a specific project. Sometimes I will do journal prompts in the morning. And I'll just free write, based on that journal prompt question. I submit poetry to calls for, submissions. I get a lot of those through my local writing group. I've participated in like the New York City Midnight Writing, those are just exciting, where you have to get something done in like 48 hours and develop a whole fiction story. I like to challenge myself in that way, just to keep it going and keep things fresh. If I'm working on a specific project, then I will be a little bit more structured about kind of where I want to go, when I want to complete it, and I will make a very structured outline. But otherwise, I'll write, and then sometimes I may go back through old journals or back through my notes app where I have things online, and that might be a few pieces I'll pull together for a blog post, because I'm always writing, always have scribbles somewhere.
Mhm.
Absolutely. This has helped me to remember the Great American Novel. So, what I have found as a neurodivergent person is co-working sessions work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Probably co-working sessions are available. There are probably hundreds of co-working sessions happening live on people's channels. So once you start following some authors or people that are writing, many of them are also doing these live, where they will go live saying, I'm working on a whatever part of their book. You are welcome to join me. That's what Sibongile has done. She's called it the Great American Novel. But
And I just now realized that that's what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about something completely different. I didn't even realize you were talking about what I do.
Oh Lord. Okay, good.
My bad.
So what I love is she says, follow Sibongile on Instagram, and she usually will announce there that she's going to open a co-writing session. But like you said, sometimes it's free writing, like what Danielle was saying. Sometimes it's like you said, Mocha Moizelle, I feel it. I'm going to write till I don't feel like writing. I don't create a hyper, what do you call that? A hyper structured, I have to write a certain amount, because a lot of what I feel like we are talking about in this space is writing for the joy of it, writing for the, it is a creative expression. So sometimes it's a lot of structure from this brain snatches the joy, snatches the creativity that I would have. And so, but you've got to find your sweet spot. Sibongile, talk a little bit about the Great American Novel. Did I get the title right, or is it called something else?
Actually, it's 15 minutes of the Great American Novel.
There we go.
And I do it live. And the idea is if you want to write and you can't seem to find the time, 15 minutes is all you need, to just sit down and do something for 15 minutes. But what I'm finding is that 15 minutes, I think, is not quite long enough, right? So I always encourage people to, after the 15 minutes is up, keep writing, right? I haven't done it in a while because I'm finding it hard to be consistent in setting a specific time every week at the same time. So it's kind of, sporadic. Like she said, I will announce it when I do it, but usually I do it live on my YouTube channel, 15 Minutes of the Great American Novel, where we basically co-write for 15 minutes. The next time I do it, it'll probably be longer than 15 minutes, but you can jump, and then what happens also is I'll say 15 minutes, the 15 minutes will be up, and then someone will come on in the last 2 minutes and say, oh wow, I was just getting here, I wanted to do it too, but the 15 minutes are up. So yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like writing in community, body doubling, some folks, kind of have some of those kinds of experiences behind a paywall, where all of you guys are on Zoom, you're on mute. They set a timer, like Sibongile said, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I know Stephanie Perry does that on Stephanie Perry Media, where, we get, we work for 20, 25 minutes. We have a 10-minute chit chat break, and then we go back in to complete the hour that lasts 25 minutes. So, you know, writing in community, just like everything else, y'all know on this channel, we're going to talk about, you can do the hard things, you can do the uncomfortable things, you can do the new thing in community. That to me is encouraging, that other people are knuckling down. I'm more likely to try to get focused somewhere in that first 5-ish minutes, and then keep writing. Carol's also talking about we need more Black press. So if you are considering, you know, becoming a publisher, helping young writers, new writers, seasoned writers to have a place to tell our stories, please consider it, because it is definitely needed. Yes. I'm going back through the comments. This part, thank you, Temple. Either we know who we are or the world will tell us who we are.
Mhm.
And we're not about that.
Mm-mm.
We are not about that. We should be setting the frame. Any last words that you guys want to share? And then we'll have everybody go through, and even though it's in the description, will you say where folks can find you? Mocha Moizelle.
Well, my last words would be to just do the thing. I know for a lot of people that's easier said than done, but if you have the urge and the desire to do it, it's probably for a reason. It's probably been deposited in you for a reason. And you will probably yield some type of great feeling or reward when you put the thing out there. And like I said, a lot of it preventing us from doing so is our own mindsets and being afraid and fear of something somebody done put out. And I know you've probably come across something a whole lot worse, but they put it out there still. So those are my last words. Just put it out. Like, and again, if it's not your best work, you put it out there. Now you can again work on perfecting your craft. You're not going to get to a state of where you feel comfortable if you don't at least start from where you are. So those will be my last words.
Mm-hmm. Where can we find you on?
So my book is available at decolonizingthedivine.com/book. I'm also on Substack.
Oh,
At Decolonizing the Divine. I didn't share that link. Sorry, I didn't think to, but
okay.
Decolonizing the Divine is everywhere. That's what any social whatever platform, that's going to be the name. But the actual book link is decolonizingthedivine.com/book. And that's where you can find me. And then if you're interested in other resources, you can just go to the main site, decolonizingthedivine.com. And you'll see everything that I have available and that's offered by me.
She had a webinar today. I could not do it today, but I will be in the
It
next
was
one.
amazing. You missed it,
Oh,
but
wow.
She did not tell me I missed it. See, this right here, that's why I brought my sisters. She knows she can say that. But she's going to have one in the future. I love processing in a group. When you, I want to say this publicly, when Mocha Moizelle, we've been in communication. We've been working together since the Success Society, but she was also in the Get Your Next 3 Clients Challenge. When she broke down what the book was, I was like, I am your audience. She was like, you get it? I was like, girl, I've been waiting. Look, this is what I figure authors want to hear. I've been waiting on a book like this. Like the universe came together, downloaded for you, but it was really for me.
and that's something that we talked about in the
right.
webinar today. I don't want to get too far off topic, but that's something that I mentioned, like about how we feel like we're creating for the sake of creating, but actually we're working in tandem with other things for somebody to either come across that message or that book or that whatever. Like so we see that a lot, and I talked about that with some of my spiritual experiences. How somebody put a show together for entertainment purposes, right? Or they put a song together for entertainment purposes. However, when I watch it or I have something that is synchronizing, I'm getting some type of communication from that work
Yeah.
that you put out that was not necessarily for entertainment purposes, but it was to communicate something to me. And so I feel like we're put here to create so things can be communicated. So again, it's like you're messing up the divine flow of things when you're not creating and
Come
putting
on.
your stuff
Come on now.
out
Come
there.
on. You
So
are open that channel.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
That's what you're doing. You're opening up that channel, and then again, once you work, that reception will become clearer, and you can, start to maneuver things and get more comfortable what it is that you feel like you want to be doing and putting out. So, yeah.
If Danielle Brooks does not write something about the Vietnam Exodus Summit experience in the next blog post, I'm gonna
It's
feel
coming.
some kind of way, because the pictures alone told me there was an experience, multi-layered experience that occurred when you are in energetic sync with
Mhm.
100 other Black women that are
Yes.
tapping into joy, releasing. When somebody said, I quit, I called from Vietnam to my job to quit. Let me
Quit my
tell you,
job. Yes, she did.
in
Yes, she did.
community, things happen. So tell the people where we can see you, where we can learn more about you, get in community with you if you're offering those kinds of experiences around writing.
Well, you can find me on the YouTubes at Refreshing Words with Danielle Brooks. And my Substack is Refreshing Words. I'm not doing a whole lot around writing in community other than I want to shout out Helana Black. I'm a part of her meditative writing. She does every Wednesday. You can look her up, Helana Black. On YouTube, she is a member of the Exodus Summit community, and she does a meditative writing every Wednesday morning. You can get on her mailing list, and it's free, and she has wonderful questions, and we do a lot of reflection there. In terms of encouraging people, just ditto what Mocha Moizelle said. If the urge is there, follow it, even if it's just a sentence, a word, some creativity, some writing with imagery that you're putting out on your social media. I think there is enough that we know that is negative and how those things are being used for evil, but we have the power to use them for good, the power to reach people that we would never see in person through these channels. And so we can do that by putting our words and our creativity out there into the world. Use these bad boys for good.
Yes, yes, yes. Sibongile?
Yes, I just want to say, I try to say it quickly. When we talk about using our voice and our words for good and putting it out there, I have to mention that I am currently reading Parable of the Talents, and I just finished reading Parable of the Sower. When Octavia Butler was writing these very prophetic novels, right? She was talking about in 1998 is when Parable of the Talents was published, and she was talking about 2030, 27, 30, 35, right? When these books were published, we wasn't even thinking we would even make it to 2035. Here we are 5 years away.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say something about Black women and Black women's writing and words as prophetic voices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those books, if you have not read Octavia Butler, almost mirror what we are going through in this
Yes.
country today. It's
Yes.
freaky. It's scary even. And when she wrote those books, I'm guessing she didn't make a whole lot of money from them.
Hmm.
But now everybody's talking about them because she knew something apparently that nobody knew, right? But I think our voices are important in that regard. We have something to say in terms of the way in which the world is going and in society is going, right? Because we've done things, we've seen things, and we know some stuff. And Octavia Butler knew some stuff, right?
Mhm.
Talk about divine
Yes.
prophecy. I don't know. I'm just so enamored with her writing, and she's on my current muse, right?
Mhm.
But other than that, like everybody else has said, if you want to write, get it out there, put it on paper, because otherwise we won't know. You won't know you can do it until you get it on paper, right? My writing, of course, can be seen on my website, sibongilelynch.com, on my Substack newsletter, Spitting Out Bones, which is also the title of my memoir. I hope they don't change it when it gets published, because that's what I'm telling everybody is the name of it, is Spitting Out Bones.
Mhm.
And of course, on YouTube, we don't retire, we ascend, because to retire means to retreat or pull back, but to ascend means to soar and to move to higher heights.
I'm full. I am full. I don't know if Prophet Mother, Tori Prophet Mother is still in the chat, but she also does a meditative writing on YouTube. I will add it to this this description, and as well as you said Helena Black. So we'll make sure that her information is also in the description. I learned so much today. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you so much for being open to having this discussion, to being the beautiful representation. When I think of Black Women's Writers Week, these are the ladies I had immediately in mind, and many others. People are slowly kind of tipping their hand that that's what they do. We can't champion you, celebrate you, acquire your work if you don't tell us that it's out there. I also want to say again, thank you to my sister that is in the chat right now, Yvonne McBride Lit Life. She and Kyoka joined me on Tuesday because they have the our Read and Wander book club. Y'all, I'm gonna get my mouth straight. It's time to eat dinner. But if you want to,
I watched it.
if you have a book that you have published and you want us to consider it for our next book club consideration, drop your information in the chat, baby. I'm telling you, Mocha Moizelle. We need it. Look at that beautiful book cover. Okay, I'm just saying.
Beautiful.
And that we will not be silenced. Whether it's sharing through oral storytelling, writing a letter. I'm still a letter writer. I keep stamps. I kept every card that my husband's grandmother, who turns 96 next month, every card that she wrote me, my kids, she used to do the family newsletter. I have every copy, every single one. And I met her almost 33 years ago. When I say this is how I'm holding on to my history? How are you documenting so that future generations of your family, people that know you, love you, who want to know you better, are being able to access that? Don't take the opportunity to write what is in your head on paper, on social media. We need it. We need the breadcrumbs that your life can give to make our lives bloom, for our lives to be better, for us to have that knot that says I can hold on because I can see something from your healing process that has nurtured me. Lorana is a friend that is in the chat now. I want to thank her also for her writing. Just her social media posts inspired me.
Yes.
I want to thank folk that joined us today for that. And ladies, if you'll hold on, I will say good evening to.
Thank you. Great conversation. Thank you.
So much.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone.